Well, welcome everyone. My name is Hope Maguire. I am the Interim Community School Coordinator for MCPS, and we welcome you today for our workshop on the first generation college family journey. We know that a lot of times you would talk about first generation students, but this is a family journey when you are the first in your family to go to college, and we wanted to make sure that everyone knew that they were included and what it means in being the first generation college family. And so tonight, myself and two other colleagues will be taking you on our own personal journeys. Then we'll give you student advice, family advice, and a special reminder for something that's happening this Friday that will help you on your journey. So at this time, I want to let you know that if you have any questions later on, please know that we're all available. We are MCPS employees, and we are here for parents and students to make sure that you have an amazing journey. Our main thing is making sure you realize that what we're trying to provide to you is not just attendance at a HBCU, but we also want to make sure that you understand we want you to be a HBCU educated student and a graduate. First up, Miss Ashley Bell.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Bell. I currently serve as a restorative justice instructional specialist in the Office of Student Engagement, Behavioral Health, and Academics. I am so excited to be here this evening and be able to share a little bit about my journey. As you can see from my sweater and from the screen that Hope shared, I attended the University of Maryland Eastern Shore for my undergraduate degree. And so my journey is a little bit interesting because I'm not necessarily a first generation college student. I am a first generation college graduate. And so both of my parents did attend college, but neither of my parents graduated. And so I am the first to complete that journey from start to finish. And so because of that, my parents definitely instilled in me an importance and a value in going to college. It was just kind of the natural next step. I didn't necessarily feel a lot of pressure to have to go to college if that wasn't the journey for me. But my parents definitely stressed that it was important and encouraged it. And so it was something that I definitely felt like was kind of the natural thing for me to do when I finished high school. I'm from North New Jersey, and so we don't have any HBCUs in the entire state of New Jersey. And so I didn't really know much about what an HBCU even was. I also grew up in a very non-diverse area that was predominantly white and Asian. And so no one talked about HBCUs. In fact, I never even had a Black or even teacher of color throughout my entire K through 12 education. And so I had no mentors or examples of anyone that talked about or attended an HBCU either. I had a girlfriend who was a little bit older than me who had already gone to college, and she went to UMES and she encouraged me to apply. I knew I wanted to become a teacher. I knew that I wanted to go to school for teaching, and I had already applied to several universities in the state of New Jersey, a couple in upstate New York, where my mom's family is from. And something told me, okay, I'm going to put an application into UMES and like see what happens. And so as I kind of got towards the end of my high school journey and got closer to graduation, something in me said I needed to kind of like take a leap of faith and I needed to go to school outside of state and even away from my family. I felt like I needed to just go somewhere where I didn't know anyone and start a new journey. So once I got all of my admission letters, I just picked UMES. I discovered that my uncle, two of my uncles actually, my dad's only brother and my goddad both went to UMES and are alumni. And so they were really excited about it. And so I already decided I was going. I had never even been to UMES, and I finally visited for the first time in the summer, and I absolutely loved it. I was amazed at the experience. It was like the HBCUs that I had heard about or seen on TV. You may or may not know family members about the movie School Days. I had seen that movie. My dad showed it to me. I, had watched The Cosby Show and heard about Hillman and watched A Different World. And it was like I was living what I had seen on TV. And I thought that it was absolutely awesome. And so I went, I loved it. I made a ton of friends, lifelong friends, my best friend, current best friend. I met when I went to UMES, and it was awesome. It's a former teaching school, and so I had awesome professors, an amazing program, and I still to this day attribute who I have become and my career and my aspirations to attending the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and specifically being able to experience the HBCU experience, because that's exactly what it is. And so that was my journey. I am an HBCU advocate, and I often encourage students to try the experience the first time that they are attending college. So that's kind of my story, and I am going to kick it over to Kenny Bay to share a little bit about his.
Thank you very much, Ashley, and welcome guests to be a part of this historic event. And my journey wouldn't have been possible without two amazing women. The first was my mother. I can remember vividly growing up in the city of Chicago. My mother was escorting me. We were visiting the high schools, Charles P. Steinmetz High School in Chicago, and she was telling me that after this journey of graduating, which was going to be 4 years into the future, that there was something called college that I was about to embark upon after that. And I was a bit confused because no one in my family has gone to college. My mother didn't finish high school. My father didn't finish high school. I'm the youngest of three. My two older brothers didn't finish high school. And I'm hearing this thing called about college. It was new, it was very foreign to me. But as she shared that information with me, I was guided by faith. I believed in my mother and what she shared with me, and I said, okay, if Mom, if you set that that goal for me, I'm going to commit to it, and I will follow through. The second person made this journey possible. Her name is Deborah Matthews. She was a teacher at the high school. She taught English, and like Ashley and a lot of educators that's on this, viewing this historic event, and educators probably in your life who are speaking hope and possibility into your life, she spoke that into me. She asked me about my goals, and interesting that we met my senior year. So for me, I was totally clueless as far as what I wanted to do. I didn't have any goals or any next steps. I was just following the traditional path, and I just kind of got lost in the sauce because my school was very large. So like over 15 to 2,000 students. And I wasn't a bad kid. I just was very quiet. I did not ask questions. So I didn't know what my next steps were going to be. She saw me and she said, young man, what do you plan to do? And I said, I don't know. She said, okay, well, meet me after school. That moment was a defining one for me. Because from there, she led me to an agency where there was counselors and opportunities to be interviewed and to see what my interests were at the time and what I wanted to major in. And so all of this, as you can imagine, was very new to me. She was particularly wanting me to leave the city of Chicago to get a different experience. And she wanted that to be an HBCU. Again, that's a new topic for me. What is an HBCU? And before Google, and I'm dating myself, I had to go to a library and use a book and use some references. And that's the only way that I could find out what was going on in Mississippi and in the different schools. So it was valuable for me that I did some research at the time. And I applied to Mississippi Valley State, as you can see behind me, this logo. And I was very proud. My mother bought a one-way ticket for me, a round-trip ticket for her. She dropped me off, and she said the next time I will be here is when you graduate. So the pressure was on. But what made that experience for me, going to an HBCU like Mississippi Valley State, was that it was family. Actually, when I talked to one of my professors, and he said, young man, he said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Chicago. He said, oh, you from North Mississippi. And I was kind of confused. But when I began to investigate, talking to my family members and talk to other people in the city of Chicago, where your family from? Oh, yeah, we're from Mississippi. And so all of that started to make sense to me, and the connection there, and how there was a big migration from Mississippi to Chicago. And it just was incredible. The family, the support, the advocacy work that many of the professors that they did beyond just teaching the curriculum and the coursework. That was very supportive to seeing how I was progressing, how I was developing as a person outside of what I was learning in the classroom. That was very instrumental. And so I owe that, if I didn't have that start at an HBCU, I would not have gone on to get a master's degree at the University of Wisconsin, La Crosse, or even working on a doctorate degree right now at GW. So I credit my foundational work, what I'm doing as a professional, what I'm continuing to do, I owe it to the foundation that was prepared for me by an HBCU, Mississippi Valley State University.
Thank you. So my journey is, I am from the South. And so one of the things that many don't realize is I am from an area that is a city that was in a county. And so I graduated in 1994 from high school, but in this particular area, the school system I was in was Monroe, and Monroe is predominantly Black. And so we were not always necessarily given the opportunity to think about college. And so I am the oldest of two. I'm 4 years older than my brother, and my mom even pushed me so hard to be an academic, all about being a student, that I never even learned how to cook from my mom. I watched her and know how to cook, but I was not even allowed in the kitchen. My thing was, you better get your homework done, and you can only have A's and B's. And so through this journey I went through, I was dealing with a mother and a grandmother who were very smart. My grandmother was a valedictorian to her high school class and was not even allowed to go to her high school graduation. My mother graduated early from high school because she was so smart, because she went to school with her brother. She skipped 2 grades, but she never went to college. So when it was my turn, she gave me the opportunities to get to the right steps, where I was number 27 out of 276 kids in a class. That's probably a whole grade level at an elementary school nowadays in MCPS. But what's powerful about that is no one encouraged me to necessarily apply for college. I was brought into counseling office and say, you would be a great admin assistant at the factory in town, or you would be great working at a daycare facility. And none of that was my hopes and dreams. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an education lobbyist. I wanted to argue and debate with people and get paid to do it. And so through church, what I was able to find was a HBCU college tour. And I used babysitting money and my money working to help ladies that were doing bake sales, where I would clean up their kitchen after, to pay $250 to go on a 4-state tour of HBCUs. I had no clue about HBCUs outside of that tour. We went to schools in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. And that was the way that I was able to find myself in a lot of what I needed to see, because I was at a predominantly Black high school and no one was trying to get me to go to a college that will give me a little bit of comfort in a new environment. So I chose Fayetteville State University. That was 2.5 hours away from my hometown, because I knew it was far enough away that my mom was not going to drive it every day, and close enough, if something were to happen to me, that she would be able to actually get to me if need be. And so I did all my applications by myself. And then I had one teacher, her name was Miss Triplett. She was my French teacher. I had her for 4 years. I took French in high school, and she paid for my SAT costs, and she paid for the applications for all of the HBCUs that I applied for, because she said she didn't want my mom to worry about picking up another job to pay for any of that. So I sat in her classroom after school, did all my stuff. She even made sure that she sent it overnight to all the places. And then I just started getting all of the information in. I was accepted at Fayetteville State University, Spelman College, North Carolina Central University, and also Hampton. The reason why I could not go to Spelman College, and this is something that we will talk about later, is my mom knew that we couldn't afford if I couldn't get one housing on campus and it be paid for, and the cost of how much it was for 1 year at Spelman actually was all 4 years that I did at Fayetteville State University. And so I went back to that same teacher and was so distraught because I thought I was going to go to Atlanta and be a Spelman girl. And she said, what is meant for you is for you. Your greatness goes where you go. And that helped me understand that it didn't matter necessarily what my wish was, but what was best for me and what I came out with from that university. So I was able to get scholarships and work aid and Pell Grants that I didn't pay in the end for my 4 years at Fayetteville State University. So as an undergraduate, I actually did come out with no debt from Fayetteville State University. And the powerful thing about that is knowing that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I might not have gone to Spelman my undergrad, but I did end up going to North Carolina Central University for a second bachelor's degree at the time. And that's how I got into elementary education. And Spelman is still on my list. So I could go back for a master's or maybe a doctorate program. It never ends. So when you're thinking about your journey, just know that family members might not be the only people who can help you on that journey. My mom wanted me to go to college, but I felt sometimes she was intimidated about the fact she wanted to go. And I think she started living through me instead of saying you could go with me, which I always encourage people, go back to school with your kids. It'll be a great experience. But also just getting people to understand that everyone has their own separate journey when we're talking about attending college for the first time, but always when it comes to a HBCU. There are over 100 HBCUs in the nation. You can find the one that fits particularly well just for you. So for students who are here, pay attention. Ashley Kinney and I now are going to walk you through student advice that we have for you. So please listen carefully. Take down those, well, I say pen and paper. You guys are going to probably use your cell phones. Either way, this is the time for you to take down this advice.
All right, let's jump right in. So this first bullet talking about finances is something that Hope kind of delved into a little bit, but it really speaks to me personally because when you're a student, I was 17 years old when I went to college. I was not thinking long-term at all. We don't start long-term thinking and long-range planning, especially financially sometimes, until it's a little bit too late. And so to be transparent, that was kind of my story. I wasn't thinking about what a student loan meant after I graduated. I was just thinking about, okay, I have a way to pay for college. And so when I first kind of went to UMES, I didn't necessarily have the best grades in high school. I kind of got it together my last couple of semesters of my junior year, my first couple of semesters of my senior year to get my grade point average up, scored really well on my SATs. And that's kind of how I was able to get admitted into the colleges and universities that I applied to. As I said before, though, I did have two uncles who I'm close to who were alumni. And so my goddad, who is particularly and still very involved at UMES, told me about the honors program and told me that I could get some money. And so I worked really, really hard my first semester. I got a 4.0 and I got accepted into the honors program and I got a full scholarship to UMES. They paid for my room and board, my tuition, everything. And so that was amazing because it took off some financial pressure, not just from me, but from my parents. And so the mistake that I made, though, was that once I became a junior, everyone started getting these apartments off of campus. And I was like, I want an apartment off of campus. And so I could get an apartment off of campus, but that was not covered by my scholarship. So I was like, I'm going to take out a loan. And so I took out student loans to pay for an off-campus apartment for my junior and senior year. Was it absolutely amazing? Yes, I felt independent. It was awesome. It was fun. However, 12 years after I have graduated, I am still paying off student loans from my undergraduate degree that I should not have because I wanted to experience the independence of having a student apartment when I now have nothing but time to pay rent and a mortgage. And so, in hindsight, this is not me speaking as one of those, parents or caregivers who always knows best. I really mean it when I say I wish someone would have drilled into my head that I need to be more forward thinking financially when it comes to housing, and that if I have scholarship and grant opportunities to pay for school, I need to maximize them, and that I need to really care about how some of the decisions I make financially can impact me down the line. That definitely stands also when we start talking about advanced degrees, just like Hope shared. It's okay to choose a school that is more affordable, something that's more local, something that's in state, if financially that's what's going to make more sense for you in the moment. You have your entire life literally to go to school, to go to your dream school, and to get other degrees. And so you don't have to check all of the boxes the first time you go to school. You just want to make sure that it's a school that has what you need in order to begin your career and begin whatever it is that you're interested in when it comes to making a living for yourself. You may change your mind with what you ultimately want to do as you get older and more mature and learn yourself more anyway. Another option also to just consider is that you don't even necessarily have to go to a four-year college right away. You can always think about going to a community college for your first couple of years, especially if you're not totally firm on what you want to do, what you want to major in. Focus on getting those grades up, focus on really figuring out what you want to do with your degree and what you want to major in. And then for your last 2 years of college, attend a four-year school, hopefully on a scholarship because you've used your first couple of years at a community college to get your grades up. If you're in a position where you feel like your grades aren't necessarily reflecting what you're really capable of for whatever reason.
Kenny, you're next.
I'm not seeing that.
You see it?
No, I'm not seeing it. All right, some more advice. Like I shared with you, before Google, now you have Google. Here's some opportunities for you to really take advantage. What Ashley just shared and what I'm about to share with you right here. You want to make sure that you are doing well, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or even a senior. It's still not too late. You want to do well on your exams. Colleges like HBCUs want to see what type of rigor programs you've been involved in in your high school journey. So this is a great opportunity to connect with your counselor, get the information you need, and let them know that here's some schools that I'm possibly thinking about, and they can share things of your interests and places where you may find yourself in the future. You want to also get yourself involved in extracurricular activities. This shows that you're very diverse. So when you write your personal statement letter, they want to see who you are other than what your scores, what the references that you have. This is to show and highlight things that you like to do outside of the academic to make yourself more well-rounded. Also, it's really important to understand about balance because yes, you're going to be challenged academically, but it's important that when you're attending an HBCU, that this is a phenomenal experience, one of a kind. As we have here in the DMV area, we have we have Howard, we have UDC, and in Jackson, Mississippi, and Mississippi Valley State, in the South, you go to a homecoming experience. It's different in the South. That's why I shared with sometimes all HBCUs, there's not a one size fit all. So if you have the opportunity, definitely go visit. That will be a great opportunity for you to get some exposure as well. To your advantage, I high schooler, whether you're freshman through sophomore, it's best to go to LinkedIn and use different profiles of your network. Pardon, 1 second. Thank you. And so this gives you an opportunity where you can connect with professors, former graduates, people who are in the program. This will being able to make those connections, ask questions, put you in a better advantage to get a complete picture about the program that you wish to enter. Unlike my experience, again, I didn't have these, the technology just wasn't there at the time with the internet and all these platforms that you can just quickly access at your fingertips on your cell phone. So use these opportunities. If you do not have a LinkedIn page, those profiles, please definitely talk to your counselor, your parents, and begin to set those things up where you can start to build out your resume and your social media presence for the school that you desire.
And so the next thing to think about is join organizations. One of the things that I did was I joined the student government because I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I was the resident senator for my residence hall my freshman year. And because of that experience, it allowed me to actually gain some money because I never left campus for an apartment because they didn't have them at that time. But what I did get was the opportunity to be a resident assistant my sophomore year, which is usually not what happens. They let you be like a junior community assistant, then a resident assistant. And so in that role, I was able to get my room and board actually taken off of my bill because I was monitoring new residents that were in a freshman dorm. One of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I didn't want to go as someone who was the oldest child, the only girl. I didn't want to go to a dorm where I had to walk down the hall to go to the bathroom. And so this particular residence hall that I was in it was 10 girls in a suite, but we had 2 bathrooms. And my first year as a freshman, I did have a roommate. My sophomore year as a resident assistant, I only had a roommate for 3 months. And then she moved into a place when someone wasn't coming back. And so I had my room to myself the rest of my time in college. Where as a resident assistant, I didn't have to share my space. I could put 2 beds together and pretend like I had a king size bed. I got to have 2 desks. So I had already started HGTV process in my residence hall room. And so that also helped me with my journey of not having to have debt at that time. As part of the student government, I was able to advocate for things that we wanted on campus and to elevate those up to the University of North Carolina system around other things that we wanted. I got to meet other university resident assistants and build a network like Kenny was talking about from LinkedIn to really just talk about what it was we wanted for our future and our careers. And some of those people I am still in contact with today. One of the main things to do is know that there are so many different types of organizations. And unlike high schools where you might feel like, oh, well, this person won't let me into this organization, or maybe that's organization is only for a particular type of student who has a certain experience. That's not the same for college. They have so many different things. So if you like to plan parties, join the student activities. That means you support planning and organizing student activities for students the entire time you're there, not just parties, wellness days, health days, yoga days, voting rallies. If you're into music, arts, different sports, you don't even have to be on the school sports team. You could be on an intramural team and do the same things and have just as much fun. Always know when you get on campus, find where the College Career Center is. It is your go-to for anything to keep you successful in college. It has all resources, all information about building your skills. And sometimes we could think that we are very good at something and need somebody to coach us through it. So interview prep skills, job search skills, internship supports. Become your advisor's best friend. So anytime your advisor has open office hours, try to at least go see them, if not every week, even if it's just, hey, how you doing? I'm doing really good. I just wanted to check in with you to show you I'm doing well. Or every 2 weeks, where you spend a good chunk of time, no less than 45 minutes to an hour, getting them to understand who you are. So when opportunities come across their desk, they already know you as the student that this will benefit. And it's okay not to know precisely what you want to study. You get 2 years when you're in college to take all of the core curriculum activities and courses. And then they say at the end of your sophomore year, we need you to declare a major. That gives you time to actually look at multiple courses, go to multiple departments, engage with those professors, engage in how their activities are to find out who you are. I decided when I went the first time to Fayetteville State University, I was sticking to it. I did political science. Nothing was going to change my mind. And then I graduated, did a year at a different school, did not like it. And before I know it, I had gotten married and was a mother and decided I needed to see what school was going to be like for my child. So that's why I went back to North Carolina Central to be an elementary ed major. And I did that for a year and then got to go back and teach at the elementary school that I went to. So you will find things that you think are your passion, and it can still be your passion, but it could also be that you have a passion and a direction and a purpose that goes in it. And you just have to see how the two actually align and match up to each other. Back to Ashley.
One of the reasons why it's so important to have a relationship with your professors and with your advisors is some of what Hope was talking about. Having someone else who has a lens on you just from working with you, seeing what strengths kind of come through your assignments, your discussions and conversations and questions to help also steer you in a direction that suits you best. And so you may feel a lot of pressure at the tender age of 17, 18, 19 years old to decide what you want to do with your entire life. And it really, truly is okay if you don't know that. And having a relationship with your professors, with your advisors, is what's really going to also help you be able to navigate that as well. Me personally, University of Maryland Eastern Shore is not a super large HBCU. It felt big enough because it was much larger than my high school, but I also didn't feel like a little fish where it was hard for me to be able to access certain people that could help me in that way when I was there. I had a really close relationship with my advisor, Dr. Seabrook. She taught me a lot of what I came to know as an educator. I had a professor, Dr. Randall, who I still keep in touch with to this day, who I just formed a personal relationship with. I just really loved her. I thought she was a phenomenal teacher. I am a former ELA teacher, so I started my career as an English and language arts teacher. And so Dr. Randall, that was kind of her area. And so I had her as a professor, and she, taught me and showed me, English literature and British literature in this way I'd never seen before, through the Black experience. And it was amazing. And I don't know what my experience would have been like if I wouldn't have formed these relationships with my professors. Also, thinking about the resources that are available to you to help you academically. The Writing Center is an amazing, amazing resource. And so I actually was a tutor at the Writing Center, and that was an awesome experience. It was something I was able to put on my resume right away when I was applying to teaching jobs. It gave me an opportunity to teach a variety of students. We had a lot of international students at UMES. And so I was able to teach some students who didn't know any English. And so it really kind of got my feet wet with what it meant to be an actual teacher. And I wouldn't have known about the opportunity to work at the Writing Center, earn money doing something that I love, also gaining experience to put on a resume to help me get a job when I graduate, if my advisor, Dr. Seabrook, and my professor, Dr. Randall, would not have told me about it. And so you just never know what opportunities or information are going to be available to you if you don't form relationships. And so it's just like we tell you all as students now to find your trusted adult. You can do the same thing when you go to college. It's going to be really important that you find your people or your person that you trust that can really help you along with that journey, especially if you're attending school away from home and your parents or your caregivers aren't as readily in person available to you all of the time.
I get it. This may sound like it's a lot of information to consume and digest, but just trust the process. You'll get through this, and this will serve you tremendously in the future. Now, you might come from a place where if your parents are a doctor, you say, okay, I want to be a doctor, or my parents are teachers, I want to be a teacher. And you might fall in that line of tradition, and there's nothing wrong with that. You might want to be a trailblazer and start something new and major into something else. Whatever you do, speak from your heart or just pursue it, that passion, that particular study that speaks to you, that resonates with you. Because you don't want to spend a lot of time in college pursuing something for someone else. Yes, parents could possibly be paying for this. You have scholarships and you feel like, well, this is a way that I can pay them back because I am majoring in this. But if that is really something you want to do, then that's okay. But if it's something that's really doesn't resonate with you, then it's time to have that type of conversation with your parents, with your counselor. But you want to make sure that your motives are right, because at the end, your name is going to be on that diploma, not theirs. Also, we talked about it earlier about networking. It's not, you're not an island. There's going to be HBCUs like Mississippi Valley State, I would say 1,600 students. Where I formerly taught at Montgomery Blair, you can probably double that. You can fit my school, my college into Blair twice. And that's how small the school is. But it served me. It was very intimate. I got to know a lot of people. So you want to be able to network because after graduation, people take on job assignments, different cities, different states. You might not know where you're going to be or where you're going to land after graduation or an internship. So you want to be able to network, be able to communicate, talk to your advisors, teachers, friends, and just and share your ideas. And that networking is going to definitely serve you. Also, understand that the college experience at an HBCU is so rich and amazing that the relationships like Hope and Ashley just shared, you're going to have them for a lifetime if you choose to still maintain those relationships. And you might find yourself a different part of the world and still connecting or meet some graduates from your program or your school or the Alumni Association. It's a great resource. So make sure that you are plugged in and making those type of connections. I shared earlier that every HBCU is not a one-size-fits-all. So Howard University, Mississippi Valley State, University of Maryland, Eastern Shores has a different culture, a different connection, different chemistry, and that's okay. We say continue to do the research, talk to people, use your LinkedIn accounts, profiles. You can use other type of ways to connect and just to get a pulse what the school is like, the culture is like, the atmosphere. And if you are able to, go visit. That's a great opportunity. And again, with the technology, you can also look at videos because a lot of campuses, they're promoting and sharing what they're doing and to give you an opportunity. And there's also some places where you can take a HBCU tour and you can visit different campuses as well. So use the internet, search, and become familiar with that. I will also end it with, you want to make sure that you do your research about the different programs you're interested in, size of the school, the tuition. All of this is going to play a huge vital part in the decision where you want to go, whether you want to stay in the north or in the south, or do you like cold climate? Do you like more like hot climate? There's a lot of factors, a lot of variables, but you want to make sure that you can put this on a paper, talk to your advisor, and be able to boil down and distill which HBCU speaks to you and is going to serve you for those next 4 years.
And so the last part for student advice before we transition into family advice is one thing to always remember is check your grades often when you get to college. One of the things that you want to make sure that you do is keep up with every assignment to make sure that it's graded, to make sure that it's showing you are being responsible for self. There will not be the same people at college that are in high school telling you, hey, what's going on with your grades? How can I necessarily assist? They're going to look at you advocating for yourself to say, hey, my grades are not where I want them to be. What are the resources and services available for me to get them where I need to get them? And then when we talk about join a club here, one of the things I want you to think about is not just the clubs on campus, but think about yourself. What would you classify yourself as? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you someone who is all right spending time with yourself and doing activities every once in a while? Or are you someone that needs something to do every weekend, nonstop? Because that also will help you in deciding on where you want to go. The reason why I chose this college that I did was I knew one, it was attached to older students because Fayetteville State was also partnered with Fort Bragg at the time, which is now Fort Liberty. And so I knew a lot of the students I would be in classes with had non-traditional experiences. And I was really excited as someone who was the older child who had been spending a lot of time around older people, senior citizens and all. And I wanted to make sure that who I was meeting were non-traditional students. So a lot of the people that were in my classrooms were older, had been overseas, were in the military, had retired from the military, had their children paying for them to go back to college. This was their opportunity to go to school. And so I really enjoyed learning those experiences because it helped craft my, I would say, my empath side around how to engage with other people when I got out into the workplace and how I was able to have interpersonal skills to work with people on different teams as you will when you get out into the workplace. So please make sure that you use this student advice because we really, really want you to know that it's not, like I said, it's not it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And we want you to be in there for the long haul and go all the way to the finish line of graduating. So our family, if you're in the room, it's not just up to the students. This next section is for you. And when we say family, that's mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandma, grandpa, even the community member next door, any church members that might be on here. Please understand it takes a true village to do these next things. When it comes to family, one thing to realize, like I said in my experience, my mom, I know, was very shocked that I did everything by myself. And I feel sometimes she had a little bit of guilt around not understanding the experience and then what I wanted her to be there for me in the experience. I remember trying to do all kinds of pageants and contests for her to come to, but I really should have known that my mom had to work 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs. So some of those activities were just not going to be in her purview to come to, but she was definitely going to be at graduation. And so one of the things to do is sit around and have a dinner conversation about this. What can I do? How often would I be able to visit? How often will be our phone schedule? What can I do for you now that will help you feel independence as your own campus? And know that if your child does not talk to you the first 2 months they're at college, outside of, yeah, I'm good, all things are good, and send you the password so you know what that magic word is that I call the proof of life picture. I'm still here. Nothing has happened to me. It's okay because they're developing their independence. They're learning new people. They're learning their environment. And it does not mean that they are not doing well in school. I turned 18 in college, and I remember my mom was so mad at me because she could not get me on the phone just to find out that the phone number that she was given was the wrong number and it was transposed. And I was like, why would I not want to speak to my mom and my brother? Like, come on now. The next thing to always think about is during this time, keep reminding your child that you are still there for them, that you will appreciate knowing that they will appreciate knowing that the family is a solid rock behind them. And what that could mean is many things. Care packages, and they don't have to be large. If you know your child's favorite snack, mail it to them with a card. If you know something is coming out that they really like, mine were always T-shirts that had different sayings on them. So people at my church would just send me different T-shirts and say, just want you to know the village is thinking of you. My brother would send me stuff like a Kit Kat and say, I wish you were here to break it in half with me so we could fight over the last piece. Little things like that still let them know that you're connected. Schedule time for video calls or schedule a visit. Most schools now have a family weekend. Sometimes that is separate from homecoming. And I would tell you, ask your kid if they want you to come to homecoming before you go, because their freshman year, they might want to experience it without the family. And then other years, they might want to say, no, I want my whole family to come here so you can experience all the stuff that we do during homecoming. And then on family weekends, when they have those at different times, make sure that you can just take time to go down. And even when it's not a scheduled family weekend on a college or university, you are able to do the exact same thing. Schedule a time saying, we're coming down. We want you to tour us around, show us what you do when we're not around, and just let them know your presence is still with them and you are proud of what they're doing. Because sometimes it's just those little moments that they might be by themselves thinking, am I worthy enough to be here? And all they need to hear from a family member or someone from their village is, yes, you are, keep going.
All right. So our first piece of advice when we start thinking about living on campus is roommates. Roommates. I could tell you some stories, some personal stories, some stories from my friends and their roommates. Roommates can be an awesome, amazing experience where you build a lifelong friendship. And then they can also be really, really difficult if you're not on the same page. And so preparing your child for what it means to have a roommate is really important. Now, your child might be like me, where I've never shared a room ever. I never had to share a room with my sibling. And so having a roommate was new to me when I entered college. Or your child could share rooms with, siblings or other family members and know what it's like to share a space. But either way, having a roommate, which is someone who you typically don't know, is a totally different sort of experience. And so having a conversation with them around what that could look like, troubleshooting around, okay, what are some things that you can be more flexible about when it comes to room sharing? And then what are some things that are just non-negotiables that you really need in order to be successful? And let's talk about how we're going to communicate that with your potential roommate. Now we have social media. I remember when I was going to UMES, I got a letter to my house from my first roommate. She was introducing herself, telling me how she couldn't wait to meet me, telling me what she liked, all this stuff. I wrote her back. It was like beautiful, which we know in 2024 probably would not happen. But just her making that contact with me made me feel like she was interested in having a friendship and getting to know me, and she was excited to room with me, and it alleviated so much stress. So I would certainly encourage families to encourage their child to, if they can somehow, try to make contact with their potential roommate, whether that be connecting through social media, email, just having a conversation, introducing themselves, finding some time to talk and really just come up with some ground rules ahead of time. It's always nice when you can talk about ground rules and do's and don'ts before something happens, and how you're going to handle something if and when something happens, instead of trying to figure all of that out while you're going through the pressure of being in school, getting your grades together, socialization and all those other things. Setting a regular time to make sure that you keep in touch with your student, as Hope talked about, really ensures that there's a little bit of consistency and predictability, but it also eliminates the ability for your child to feel like you're hovering a little bit also. You want to find that balance of checking in consistently and making sure that your student is okay, but also giving them some time to spread their wings. Just like Hope talked about, just because you're not hearing from your child does not necessarily mean that's something wrong. Sometimes that could be a good thing, a beautiful thing. They're spreading their wings, they're gaining independence, they're feeling confident, they're secure, they found their tribe, and they don't need to lean on you as much in order to get a sense of safety and security. I know my first 3 nights of college, literally I cried every single night. It was my first time being away from my family like that. My entire family cried when they left me there in my dorm. And within a week, I had met my current day best friend, and it was on and popping. And I didn't feel a need to touch base with my family a whole lot because I was doing my thing. And so we kind of found our balance. Hope talked about care packages. My mother is the care package queen. She still sends us care packages as adults, and it is a really beautiful reminder of home. Also, when your student comes home to visit or is home during those breaks, making them their favorite meal, sending them home with some of that, those sorts of things really do make you feel connected to home. They warm your heart. And sometimes it can just be that little random surprise of a care package that pushes you through what might just be a difficult time, because we know we all go through difficult times sometimes. The first semester tends to be or can be the most challenging just because there's so many different things to navigate and acclimate yourself to as a student. And so it's important as a supportive family member to make sure that you're giving a little bit of grace. You may find that your high school student and your freshman college student are not the same student. It may look a little different. The grades may look a little bit different. The motivation may look a little bit different. It's just like when your child went from elementary to middle school and then middle school to high school. This is just another transition. And so there may be some growing pains at first, and it's really important to give grace. You want your child to predict that it may feel a little bit unstable. They may be really trying to find their footing, but it doesn't mean that they're not ultimately going to get in their groove and have a successful experience. So give them grace and encourage them to give themselves grace as well.
And we also say, let's extend that grace when it comes to their major. When I look back at my transcript, I thought I had it set where I knew what I wanted to major in, but the transcript revealed that I was undeclared my first semester. And that was kind of shocking to me. So if your student, your child doesn't know at this time, it's okay. They can figure it out. They're exploring, they're not wasting time, and it's okay at this moment. Also, it's good, as we say, we want to continue to check in, because being away from home, the nest, the community can be very challenging at times for students when they're making that transition, if they're going to be away from home, in state or out of state. Just being away can create a little bit of turbulence with students on a social emotional level. So checking in with them, of course, phones, you can do video conferences. I would say even go back and just do a handwritten note, a letter. Sometimes that we don't see that often, but just the fact that they can touch something that's very tangible, they can pick up, can be very heartwarming when you just do a check-in. I would also recommend to our families to make sure you have your financial roadmap in place, because we don't want the scholar to be derailed by debt or something unexpected that will come up. Because in reality, it doesn't matter if the student is 4.0, never was in trouble, never was on academic probation. If at that particular time, if the financial obligations are not met, that seat will be given to someone else. That's the reality. And so we want to make sure that there are no hiccups, and so the student can focus on their academics and they don't have to worry about how they're going to pay this bill. They have to get another job, or they have to reduce their number of credit load. We want to make sure that they stay on track. So you want to be able to map that out. Last point is make sure that the support is in place. Again, the social emotional needs. This is very important these days. Students need to feel that a sense of community, connection, and knowing that it's coming from home. It could be a visit, as we shared earlier, or it could be video. It could be something a care package. But we want to make sure that make sure that the support that's in place, not only just from home, but also there's a support network at school as well that can help the student grow and mature on campus.
So one of the last things we want to remind you about, as we've given you this advice from the student, the family, and even our experiences, is one, make sure that you check in with each other, student to family members to student, and sit down and literally turn off all distractions to have moments to discuss. And especially if you're attending the HBCU fair this Friday, one of the things we definitely want you to do is come to the fair from 6 to 8:30, take time to go through all parts of the fair, and then schedule time either immediately after, on Saturday maybe, go to brunch or fix breakfast together and discuss all the things that you have gone through, all the things that you shared, and what it is that you want to see for yourself. Please make sure to always know that there is someone on campuses who can help you with anything that you might be using currently in your school placements. So if you are presently working with a 504, or if you've had an IEP, or if you have any medical needs, the universities and colleges have to support you to continue to make sure that you are safe, healthy, and taken care of with your well-being while you're on campus as well. And so always make sure that you know about the help centers and what well-being supports that they provide to students on campus. It does not mean that you have to end any supports. It might just mean that you're starting with someone new to make sure that they can help you in your current environment, and so that you always have someone to check in with. And so before we leave, I just want to give one more close out to the panelists. So Ashley, Kenny, in 30 seconds, if it was one more thing you could share with everybody, what would you say?
I think that I would just emphasize that the HBCU experience is one of a kind. There's some really, really deep, as we know, historical foundations and roots around why HBCUs even exist. And I think that it's a privilege and an honor to be able to attend a post high school education in an environment that was really created in order to uplift and support Black students and students of color. And again, just because you attend an HBCU doesn't mean it's totally void of diversity. There's so much diversity that you're still going to experience. So I think that every student who is interested in an HBCU should certainly go for it and have that experience, because it is amazing. And as I, said in the beginning, it is one of the best decisions that I have ever made for myself personally and professionally.
Kenny?
Yeah, I would say for being just for future attendees of HBCUs is to know, and to the parents as well, just know that attending an HBCU is just an extension of your family. You are trusting this institution with your child, and they are going to be protected. They are going to get the love and the support that sometimes it just missed because the institution is so large in numbers. Again, you don't want your child to be lost in the sauce, and they've just become a number. It's very intimate. It's very personal. Many of the people that they're on track with have similar stories. So that is very rewarding and refreshing, just to know that they're not alone, that they are going to make sure that they are going to be carried through to the very end. So it'll be a great choice.
And then the last thing I will say to family members that are here, remember where you start is not where you end. And so use this opportunity to learn alongside your child and decide. Maybe it is also time for you to go back, if you have not gone, to see what is your full potential. Potential is universal, but opportunities are not. And you have many opportunities now to go back to school for yourself. And you might be able to actually start businesses with your children, actually go into teaching with your children. And for students, the one thing I would tell you all is, as much as we talk about being public educators, there are so many different careers in school districts that you can come back and actually be that advocate for. And so we greatly appreciate if you guys think about majors at HBCUs around becoming teachers, psychologists, school counselors, social workers, business administrators, because those are positions that are in the school systems and key to our school district running. And Montgomery County Public Schools is always right around the corner for you to come back to. So at this time, we thank you for joining us for this workshop on being the first generation student, but really the first generation college journey for the family. Thank you and have a great evening.